Today, ladies and gentlemen, I want to go ahead and start a little overview of Chapter 2, Surviving the First Few Days. And certainly, at least at this point right now, you should be well on your way to starting your new semester of coursework. And many of you have already done this before, but we're going to go ahead and kind of go over what the book has here. And I'm on the PowerPoint that we have in the text, and also on the website that kind of covers all of the highlights of this particular chapter. In fact, I'm going to probably be just hitting the highlights here. I'm going to kind of keep a track of my time here because there's a lot in this chapter, and I may have to use 2 or more videos to be able to do it. I'm going to try to keep them all within about 7 minutes of each other, but we'll just see how many it's going to take and get it done. And so I'll identify those as, let's say, video part 1, part 2, part 3, and so forth. So, first section of your information in Chapter 2 talks about your initial school contact. Might be the first day that you ever walk into that school. Might have never seen it before. But normally a few things are going to happen, and some information that you're going to need is going to have to be shared with you. And that's the first faculty meeting. That's usually there when you'll have your meet and greet time. It's a good time for the administrator to introduce you to all of your colleagues there at your particular school. And also, normally there'll be a faculty meeting to begin every new school year, because those of you that are secondary instructors, y'all have been away for about 2.5 months. Those of you that are at the technical college level, you may have been on vacation for a couple of weeks in and out of your classrooms, and so that gives your administrators some time to kind of get some information up to date and to provide you all with an opportunity to meet new faculty and also get all that paperwork, all of the news that you need in order to start the school year. Next would be your school organization. Normally you'll have an administrator there at your school, whether you call them a principal or assistant dean, director, regional director, whatever it is. Every school has someone designated there as the director or principal of that school. So they are the ones that have the final decision in everything. Now, other schools have it broken down into assistant principals, vice principals, whatever. At the secondary level, we'll have assistant deans or deans of instruction or so forth in at the technical college level. But some schools don't have that. They're of the size that all they'll have is one administrator, and that's it. It just depends on the size of your school as to what is your organizational chart looks like. But it's very important that you do see that and understand it, because you need to know who your direct supervisor is. Do you have a department head that will run your department if you have a large number of faculty within that area of instruction? I've had faculty people who fill that role at both the secondary and post-secondary level very, very easily. So know who your direct supervisor is, and then again, know who they're answerable to. It's also important that you know who your staff is. You'll have your support staff that play a very critical role in the operation of the school, and I think we'll have a little bit more to say about that in the next slide there when we talk about meeting the school team. Paperwork. There's always going to be some paperwork associated with the teaching profession. There's just no way to get around it. Whether you're doing requisitions, where you're doing grades, class rolls. If you're at a secondary school, you turn in attendance every morning, or else every hour, from my experience. There's always some kind of paperwork to do, and that paperwork needs to be turned in a timely manner, and it can be any number of things. And then finally, to understand the budget. We all have budgets that we have to live by. Your department may have a budget of X amount of dollars, and that's for you for supplies and equipment. And that's what you have to live with for that particular 9 months or 12-month period. Now, how you spend your money, it's going to kind of say a lot about how you manage your program. And so you need to understand where your money's coming from, who's in charge of okaying your purchases, and getting yourself some vendors that can give you the best price for the equipment supplies that you need to operate. And of course, you should also find whoever it is that is in charge of the financial transactions there at your schools, and find out what the policies are that your organization has in place for making purchases. There are some situations where you will need to get bids because of the cost factor. There'll be times where you don't need bids. What about the petty cash policy for purchases? Those are the things that you need to understand and look at, that are kind of all included in that budget for both your program and also for the whole school. From a personal perspective, when I was teaching drafting, we had a budget. My budget was about $10,000 per year, and that had to last me for 12 months. During an academic year, let's say that would start in August, our boss would tell us, buy what you need for the fall. And we'd go out and we'd start spending money on paper, pencils, ink, all kinds of supplies. Then we usually got the notice from the administration, usually right after Christmas and New Year's, saying, okay, stop buying, because we need to see if there's going to be any budget cuts, or see how our budget kind of balances out after the new year. And so we would stop buying anything until they would tell us. And normally what would happen would be around the end of April and May, and say they would tell us, this is how much money you have to spend left for this year, go out and spend it, because we don't want any money left over, because if we do, we'd have to give it back to the state. Now, of course, today things have changed quite a bit, because money is tight. And so just understand from other teachers there in your at your school how they kind of balance out their purchases over the year, and that'll give you a good perspective about what you can do yourself. And so those first few days are trying to get the feel of the school, making some initial contacts. And so the next slide talks about meeting the school team. Now, you've got a whole lot of people that can help the educational process that may not be in the classroom, but they are just as important as you are in the operation of your school. And so the first group is your support staff. That can include your administrators, maybe your student personnel service officer or guidance counselors from the secondary level that deal with scheduling, things like that. And so those people are very critical. From the technical college standpoint, our student personnel officers deal a whole lot with Pell and to some degree scheduling, changing classes, adding classes. They sometimes write off on those things, but really they deal with Pell and financial aid because, let's face it, a lot of our students need it, and if they didn't have it, they wouldn't be able to come to school. And so they spend a whole lot of time dealing with those kinds of issues, as well as the student database, putting students in where they'll have accurate information on all of their demographics, and then getting schedules printed out. And so their jobs are very, very important to support us as teachers, because let's face it, we got enough on our plates already. It would be very, very difficult if we'd have to go do those kinds of things also. Someone that you really need to get to know and treat well is the school secretary. Now, you may have more than one. Normally our school has a couple, but those people are like gold, because usually they are right in the middle of everything. They have the answers to a whole lot of questions that even administrators and instructors don't have, because of the nature of their work. They have to stay right on top of all of the changes in policy and in procedures. They are just a wonderful wealth of information, especially for the new instructor as well as the old instructor, because 9 times out of 10 they are always in tune to all of the changes that take place. And we all know there are changes that happen on a regular basis in education, but they are also the first point of contact for a whole lot of people who come into our schools, and so they fulfill a very very needed role, because let's face it, we're dealing with people. Those people are our customers. If they're treated rudely or negatively, that's a reflection on our school and on us as a whole. And so they are always taught to really provide good customer service, a very pleasant, positive attitude as a receptionist when they fulfill that role. And they are usually the ones that are going to answer questions before someone comes to you. They're going to talk to the school secretary or a receptionist. So you need to tell that receptionist a little bit about what you do, because they should know about that so that they can tell that prospective student or parents of that prospective students what they can expect, and then send them down to you for more specific answers. You also have professional resource staff. At the secondary level, that'll probably be your parish supervisors of instruction, vocational education, and transportation. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, at least the ones that I've had to deal with from time to time. Student services, child services, and so forth. On the technical college side, we all have someone in our region that's our dean of instruction, maybe chief financial officer. Obviously, we have our regional directors that are pretty much, I guess, are on the administrative side, but these individuals will provide us